Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NBA center Ryan Hollins.
Couple pump fakes, leans in, shot blocked by Ryan Hollins. Hollins sent that into the third row.
6 rebounds and 8 assists.
Hollins climbs the stairs.
Down the floor. Ryan Hollins! He is the high jumper!
That's what I want to see. Give me some gunpowder and throw the hammer down.
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Rick Bucher.
Rick Bucher.
Welcome to another episode of Bucher and Hollins, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends on the United WeCast network. I'm Rick Bucher. You can read my stuff on Bleacher Report. You can see me on FS1 moving forward. Just closed a deal with them. And you can find me on Twitter at Rick Bucher. He's Ryan Hollins. You can find him at The Ryan Hollins. You can see him all over ESPN. 10-year NBA vet. And you can follow the show at Twitter and Instagram at Bucher Friends. All right, Ryan, we got a ton to get to. So let's start right at the top with King James passing Wilt Chamberlain on the all-time scoring list. He is now, if I'm not mistaken, number 5 on the list behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, and Michael Jordan. First of all, welcome.
My man.
How are you?
I just got done. I'm doing good. I'm just so much exciting basketball going on right now. I know the NFL is in swing, but it's just like Rick. This is so much. We're spoiled. We are spoiled right now.
There's certainly a lot of drama going on. There's no doubt about that.
Love it. Woo.
And LeBron James actually is bringing a lot of the drama. Now, I appreciate this is going to sound like an odd time for me to be critical of LeBron James. And I certainly appreciate I've always connected him the most with Wilt Chamberlain. I think he's a modern day Wilt Chamberlain. That's who I think he is. Physically just dominant, same sort of, kind of the same elements, the issues at the free throw line now and then that undercut what is otherwise absolute greatness. Had to go through the learning process of how to become a champion in spite of being the best player in the league, et cetera, et cetera. I hate to bring this up, but I was watching it tonight, and maybe it's just because I've been on the road and I haven't been getting enough sleep, but I'm watching LeBron, and he's setting this record, and we know how physically imposing he is. He gets fouled a couple times going to the hoop. He acts as if he's being mauled at times when he's not getting mauled. He's the biggest, strongest guy on the floor. And it's a bad look. When he goes limping around like, oh, I can't believe they're beating me up like this. I'm thinking, you're the best damn player. I just compare it. I have a flashpoint of, would Michael Jordan do it? Would Kobe Bryant do it? Would any Larry Bird go down the line? Would they do the woe is me look? Now, I know this is a terrible time for me to bring this up, but it's because he's in the pantheon of these great players. He's done all this, but the way he carries himself sometimes, it just drives me nuts.
Rick, those guys would never do that. But you have to learn to love LeBron James because you've learned to love Michael Jordan. And the way it wasn't hard, and then you got spoiled. I mean, literally, dude, absolutely spoiled because those two, Kobe and Michael, actually crossed paths, and you saw greatness happen all over again. So you were spoiled for, I mean, what I say, 40, 45 years of, for at least 40 years of basketball. You're spoiled with Kobe and Mike back to back. And LeBron James is a different animal. He knows how to work the referees. He knows how to save his body. He knows how to fine-tune himself for a Game 7 or to live to fight another day. I have beat the brakes off of LeBron James in games, beat the pants off him, and come back and got mollywopped when it counted. Yeah. The dude just finds a way. So Rick, as much as I want to ride out with you on this and drive it into the ground, I've seen it, bro.
Honestly, I don't feel good about it. I wish I could find a different way. I hate to bring it up. It's just I watch it and it makes my skin crawl because he is accomplishing great things, and I do want to appreciate what he's done, and I do, but I cannot let go things that just are not becoming a player of his magnitude. All right, I want to leave it there. Lakers beat the Blazers. I predicted that they would, because this is, I can tell you right now, the Blazers don't want to see the Lakers. If it's a playoff game, if this is 3rd seed versus 6th seed, which it could very well be, or 2nd versus 7th, which it could very well be, it's going to be the Pelicans all over again. Those long athletic guards and having a 3-4, whether it's Anthony Davis or LeBron James, let's say a forward of some kind, actually 4-5, because LeBron's been doing a good bit of that, is the recipe for the Blazers to go down in flames again. And I hate to see it, because I love their team, I love their organization, but it's setting up to be the exact same thing.
I mean, dude, honestly, other than Golden State, who wants to see LeBron in the playoffs? Straight up, other than Golden State, who wants to see LeBron in the playoffs? It sure ain't Houston right now. Houston's got some stuff to figure out. And you know what? Tyson Chandler's got there, and as we talked about last time, Rick, I don't want to drive it into the ground, but I'm gonna toot my own horn. The dude is the calming force on that team, and they've won 6 of the last. He's absolutely changed the entire dynamic of the Lakers organization, and people forget he did that in Dallas.
Yes,
he turned him into role. It was the biggest night and day difference, and Tyson is comfortable in that role.
Yeah. No, he has had a huge impact. And there's something about bringing a guy in who is a vet and who is just hungry. You have a vet that is making hustle plays all over the place at age 36. That has to fire you up. If you're a 20-something, you have to think, I got to go make some of those plays too. And that really was, I think, one of the missing elements with this team. Other than, he's obviously organizing them too. He gives them a smart backline guy that protects them. But I really feel it's his enthusiasm, his excitement that has made the big difference. Excitement with the Detroit Pistons as well. They beat the Toronto Raptors with a buzzer beater. This was in Toronto. Dwane Casey going back, the former Raptors coach, going back for the first time. Won for him, celebrated with him. I bring this up because I wonder if you ever experienced it, or if there was ever a situation where you had a coach that was playing for something and you wanted to win, or the team collectively wanted to win for him, and what that was like.
I mean, you knew every time, we had a coach and it was Doc and we played in Boston again, you knew it was special. You just kind of know. And every guy has that game. It goes far beyond coaches. This is Chris Paul. We're playing the Hornets. Down the line, honestly, man, and guys would just tell you, like, yo, I don't care what you do. We're going to beat the brakes off this team. And as for myself, had about 9 of those games, about eight or 9 of those teams. I said, hey, this is special, guys. Bring it to hey, we're going to win this. You play for 9 different teams. You got 9 that you're salty over, right? 9 others. It's a beautiful part of basketball, man.
Yeah. We had a couple of teams that had new parts as well. We saw the Philadelphia 76ers for the first time with Jimmy Butler playing the Orlando Magic. You would expect that this would be a win, that they would get an emotional boost, and lo and behold, they were upset by the Orlando Magic. And I said this in a preview of this game, that I thought that Jimmy gave them a closer, and I thought that it would make things easier as far as the Sixers have been up against it, because they're trying to develop Markelle Fultz. They're trying to prove that he still has value and that there was a rationale behind taking him as the number 1 pick. Having Jimmy kind of allows you to move Markelle back a little bit, gives you a good excuse to take him out of the starting lineup. But that said, this hasn't been a very good defensive team. They haven't been a mentally tough team. And I wasn't sure that the trade of Jimmy Butler for Dario Saric and Robert Covington wasn't going to leave them a little bit shorter defensively or tough physically. Dario Saric, whatever you want to say about him, he's a physically tough guy. He plays the game. Robert Covington has been a great defender, was a great find for them. So I really wonder, how much do you take from this? Is it just, hey, we got to get acclimated with each other, it's a big piece, we got to figure out a way? Or is this a harbinger of what Jimmy may or may not mean to the Sixers?
Well, I'm not going to avoid it. It's not a good sign. Every time you get traded or you're the new guy on the team, you want to win the game in convincing fashion. I think I don't know. I may be undefeated in trades or
every time
or
you join a new team that you guys won.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. But I mean, Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
You lost to it's hard. I'm trying not to read. You lost to Orlando. That's not a good look.
Yeah, I agree.
Ultimately, I believe that Philadelphia is better, and I don't mean just in the regular season, in the postseason. They're going to need a plethora of guys who can create their own shot, and that's where they fell in trouble last year. In the playoffs, what happened was they choked off the three-point shooters. They backed off on Ben Simmons and said, beat us. Go ahead and beat us. And then they win at the weak matchups. Jimmy Butler gives you a bona fide two-way player. Not just that, dude. He fits the chemistry. He's tough as nails. And Philly and Elton Brand over there as GM is creating a tough, hard-nosed, blue-collar type of culture. And Jimmy fits right in. I love the move. I like the move. It takes away depth, but, they got to the point where they just had to pull the trigger.
I agree with you. I agree that they had to make the move, that it's worth a look. I've been told that there's no guarantee. While people have reported they already have an agreement in place, I've been told there is no agreement for him staying long term. They weren't on his original wish list. And this Sixers ownership is a pragmatic one. I don't know that they're going to just run out there and throw a max contract at Jimmy Butler. There's going to be some concern about the tread on his tire and whether they want to do that. And they may test the market. And I just wonder how Jimmy's going to take that. If they test the market, whether he's going to look at that and say, oh, you don't appreciate that I'm here. I'm going to go to one of these other places just out of spite. We'll see. But I agree with you that in the short term, they had to make this move. They had to swing. I just don't know that it's going to be enough. I don't put Jimmy as a closer in the same category as a Kyrie or a Steph Curry or a Kevin Durant. And if we're talking about them coming out of the East or playing in the conference finals, that's the kind of closer you need.
Well, as of right now, he's leading the NBA in fourth quarter points. And obviously, it's early in the season. And no, I'm not calling him Kyrie. I'm not calling him Steph or KD, the two guys on the same exact team, or even and definitely not LeBron James. We don't question that. But they're going to be improved. I mean, if you look at the front four in the Eastern Conference, I'm excited in some ways. Say those four are deeper than the West right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly, Toronto, Boston. Am I leaving somebody out, Rick? I'm definitely not counting Washington right now. Hey, I'm definitely not counting them.
Bucks.
Thank you, Bucks. Yeah. I know I'm not crazy.
I would put the Pacers. I would go 5.
No,
I think
the Pacers. They're not serious. You like them. Don't fall and stop thinking with your heart, Rick. Stop thinking with your heart. You like them. You know they're not beating Boston or Toronto, bro. Come on.
No, that's true. No, but they could beat Philly.
I mean, Philly's a wild card right now. I'll give you
what?
That.
They might be able to beat Milwaukee.
Well, you know
Milwaukee lost to the Grizzlies. They just lost to the Grizzlies at home. That's not a Sixers losing to Orlando, but that's
no, bro. Hey, the Grizzlies, Mike and Mark are healthy. They're a solid team right now, and they got my man Slow-Mo. Now the question is, will they be healthy for the entire year? But I mean, these dudes hadn't played past 30 or 40, 50 past the All-Star break essentially in the last 3 to 4 years. So, Rick, we haven't been able to fairly assess the Grizzlies. Chandler, is Parsons healthy? Is he still playing?
He's still drawing a check. I know he's drawing a check. No, he's. Last I checked, he wasn't playing. But if we could go back to our preview, our season preview, and I believe there was one of us who picked the Grizzlies to make the playoffs, and there was another one who thought that they were either gray area or tanking, if I'm not mistaken. And I know who picked them to make the playoffs. And that was me.
Sure that was what?
That was me.
That wasn't me.
That was me. So I recognize that the Grizzlies are a quality team, better than most people think that they are. That said, you're the Bucks. You are at home, and you are an up-tempo team at home playing the Grizzlies, who have the slowest pace in the league. There is no way in hell you're supposed to be losing that game. You're just not.
I mean, you forget there are 2 All-Stars on the team, but the bigger problem is because I've been listening.
2 All-Stars?
Mike and Mark.
Mike's never been an All-Star. Now he should be. He should have been. But he's not. But he's not. Okay. But he's never been.
Technicality, I give you that. But come on, I played with some of the greatest point guards to ever play the game, and being in the locker room and on the court with Mike Conley, he's pound for pound with all of them.
Yeah, no, I'm a big
J-Kid, Barron, he's never going to go out and get his numbers. He's never going to go, and he could easily do that. He's going to make the team play always, But I've been working with the Clippers, and Milwaukee came to town, and obviously the Clippers popped them. But what was quite interesting to me, since you bring up Milwaukee, and I'll throw this your way, Rick, before we move on. Down the stretch of the game, Giannis didn't take a shot. Giannis slowly but surely reverted into a center that would set a screen and roll to the rim. And for a guy who's supposed to be the next up, that's a problem that he doesn't want the ball in. I mean, literally, there's 6 seconds on the game, bro. He's holding the ball and just passing it, getting off the rock. And Eric Bledsoe had to go make plays. Yep. Malcolm Brogdon had to go make plays. There are other guys who had to do things. For a guy that you're throwing out as the best, I mean, you got to at least be taking those shots, Rick. And I just didn't see that. Even, Kawhi is somewhat of a closer right now. Jimmy Butler will go out and throw something up. Boston has Kyrie. That's where when you talk about Milwaukee with me, I don't want to hear it, but they intrigue me.
Yeah, until Giannis can knock down just a standstill three-pointer. People are just going to back up and they're going to fill the lane, and it's going to be a challenge for him when the game gets tight. But I'm with you. That's my reservation. And so there's a couple teams, Denver in the West and Milwaukee in the East. I believe people are overvaluing in a big way. But meanwhile, the Minnesota Timberwolves win yet another game since the Jimmy Butler deal. They beat the Pelicans. And check out these numbers. You got Robert Covington starting and giving you 13 points and 7 rebounds. You got Dario Saric coming off the bench, giving you 9 points in 20 minutes. And just in general, Andrew Wiggins gives you a 23-point game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. I know numbers aren't everything, but this to me is a team that they needed to straighten things out. And I think that they have, as far as just clearing the deck and not having the Jimmy saga hanging over their heads. I didn't have them making the playoffs. I don't know what to make of them now, but I believe that they're going to be a better team than they would have been if Jimmy had been around all year.
So, Rick, sometimes in life, you have, and I'm going to relate this to Minnesota, you have relationships and bonds that are built on hate. And in the sense of, when me and you have a common cause, we got a bad guy, we got a Jimmy Butler, we got somebody that we really don't like, we get along. And nobody's really looking at the relationship, how tight it actually is, what the actual meaning of it is. And then when that person's gone, the thing that you both really, really had a disdain and a dislike for is gone, you start looking at each other and going, dang, do I really like you that much? Or do we just both not like Jimmy Butler? Do we both not like that guy? So you're going to find out who the heck Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns are. And there's no excuse of, oh, here goes Jimmy. Yes. There's that Jimmy. There's that cancer here. So we're going to see, man.
This is the one thing that, taking Jimmy out of the equation, that I don't know that Karl Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins are. And this is always a fatal flaw for a team that has any sort of expectations, which is my best player has to be my hardest worker and he has to be a leader. And I have not seen leadership qualities from either one of those guys. I haven't seen it. And by leader, I mean not that they go get theirs, but that they're aware of how their game impacts everybody else. And maybe it's youth. Maybe they need to grow into that. But I look across the board with them, and other than Derrick Rose, who demonstrated in Chicago, I don't know that there's another guy on that roster that I see filling that role.
You're right. And it's funny you say that, because in the 4 quarters of those games, Derrick Rose was taking over. Derrick Rose was doing a lot. The ball was in his hands. He's just got a bounce. Like, people forget how incredibly athletic he was, and he's still above athletic for an NBA. Like the dude is playing real solid. You just got to hold them together for an entire season, and hopefully their depth actually helps Derrick out now, because you can rest him a little bit without losing a lot, Rick.
Yeah. I've been meaning to check his 3-point shooting, because you talked about him being a good 3-point shooter, and I just remember at the end of his Chicago run and the hitch in his shot and how much that undermined his ability to shoot the three. He's gotten the hitch out of there. Just the games that I've watched, I haven't looked at their stats. He didn't play tonight for some reason. I don't know why. Derrick Rose right now, check this out. Just take a guess at what do you think he's shooting from three this season?
Between 38 and 42%.
He's attempting almost 4 a game. He's shooting 48%.
Good gosh.
From 3-point range.
Good gosh.
He is their best 3-point shooter.
And he's shooting them off the dribble too. So and he's shooting them off the dribble. Are you all in, Rick? Are you in, Rick? Rick, are you with me?
No, see, here's the problem. I never left the Rose bandwagon. I've always been there. But man, we've taken a beating. So I'm not about to jump up and start talking about how fast this wagon can move. I'm just going to try to stay on the wagon and keep my seat and be happy that we're rolling in one direction and we don't have any flat tires.
You're not taking your hands off on a roller coaster, are you? You still got your hands firmly planted. You're not going hands in the air.
No. That's exactly right.
You're not doing any no lookers, huh?
Yeah, because we could get flung. Been down that. All right, one guy who has been flung, tossed to the curb, Carmelo Anthony with the Houston Rockets.
Oh, man.
I want to start here because there's a lot of players who are outraged at his being kicked to the curb, largely because they interpret it as the Rockets saying our problems. Now, the Rockets didn't say this, but problems that we've been having, the struggles that we've been having are Carmelo Anthony. And players around the league, in the league, out of the league, retired, whatever, have voiced their opinions and feel that is inherently unfair to Carmelo Anthony. Do you, as a former player, do you agree with the crowd?
Let me give you 2 angles of this. Well, historically, yes. New York blamed Carmelo for years. They blamed him for years. And then we just saw Oklahoma City share blame with Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo. And I'm going to give him a little more blame in OKC because Hoodie Melo was supposed to be a little different than we thought. Okay, it was supposed to be a little different. But Houston, this fast, this early, you're putting him on the chopping block. You're waving this guy. This is unheard of. But Rick, I'm gonna come to Houston's aid a little bit because those young Bulls helped them be a little better defensively. And I'm talking about Gerald Green. He's not quite a young Bull anymore, but he's younger than Melo. I'm talking about Gerald Green, James Ennis. With those two in the lineup, they are better defensively than with Melo. They are just better. And I think they brought him in the office, Melo that is, and they had that talk, Rick, and they said, Melo, we're going to lower your minutes. There can be some games you may not dress. We're going to change some things up. Are you okay with this? And Carmelo said, waive me. That's not what I came here for. That's not what I came here for. And it just kind of we'll agree to disagree. We'll handle things in a respectful manner. We'll let everybody just inquire and assume and whatever. But there's just a lot of respect there for Carmelo Anthony, but a decision had to be made because he was murdering them on the defensive end.
Yeah, he was. And I believe that Carmelo has received far too much criticism. People question whether he's a Hall of Famer. He's a no doubt Hall of Famer. First ballot, maybe you debate that. Unanimous, you can debate that. But in terms of does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Without question, he does. And yet at the same time, I can say this wasn't a good fit. And Melo, his decision is a reflection of he has not shifted his mindset yet. He needs to talk to Jason Kidd. He needs to talk to Grant Hill. He needs to look at this and say, I'm not what I was, but I love this game and I want to continue to play, and I'm still capable of being an effective player in the NBA. How do I go? What's the role that I can play to continue to do that? And for me, he either has to get a lot stronger and play the 4, or lighter and faster to give himself a chance, and probably both anyway, regardless. Even if he's going to play 4, he's got to be faster. He's got to be in better shape, and he's got to find a way to be efficient with fewer shots. He's got to look at, I'm only going to get maybe 6, 7, 8 shots a game. How do I make sure that I'm making at least 3 or 4 of those on a consistent basis? And I just don't get the sense that he's mentally made that switch at all.
I don't agree in these terms. I think with today's NBA, because Melo's a natural fat boy. And I know you remember the Syracuse days. Like, he's got to get as skinny as he can get because the dude is strong. When you get older, Rick, like your strength doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
His problem in my mind is movement. And he's going to have to settle for not 6th man, but I'm talking about like 10th man. And I say that with all due respect because there are still lineups in an NBA game in which Melo can go in and be very effective. But do I want to see him every single night against your starting power forward or small forward? I want to use Melo in doses, and there may be some games, especially back-to-backs, in which he doesn't play.
Yeah, that's fair. Either stronger, lighter, and faster, probably both. He needs to get in much, much better shape. It's a faster game anyway. And that's going to be difficult for him at this age to be able to play fast, to get into that kind of shape, because, as you know, when you got to work that hard, when your body's been that bad and you got to work that hard, then your body breaks down trying to get to that pristine spot.
And real quick, the guys that we see doing it, LeBron James, obviously, Vince Carter's an alien, but these dudes were like elite, like NBA ever athletes, like Chris Paul and Mel. Those are normal good athletes. You know, that's what they look like.
It's also Vince and LeBron always took care of their bodies. They've been religious about doing it throughout their career. So that gives them an advantage. All right. The other big news going on for the week is the defending champion, the 2-time defending champions.
You seem so hurt by this, Rick.
It's not hurt. It is, I'm still coming to terms with how much of a deal to make of it. Does it take them under? First of all, back up. Draymond Green, Kevin Durant getting into it at the end of the Clippers game. Kevin Durant looking for the ball, clapping for the ball. Draymond Green putting his head down, dribbling into the paint. I think he was trying to make a play. Lost his footing, sprawled. They lose the ball. They go to overtime. They lose to the Clippers. That dispute between the two of them went into the huddle, then continued, the reports are, into the locker room. And then Draymond was suspended for the subsequent game against the Atlanta Hawks, which the Warriors eked out. In any event, this apparently hasn't been resolved, and people are raising a question as to will it be, and how much of a hindrance will this be for the Warriors in their attempt to three-peat.
Oh, so I worked that game. Clippers. We've had some fun ones lately. Where do I start, Rick? Let me give you a quick little recap of the kind of the Draymond. For one, you are spot the heck on. You need to make sure everybody knows that you called it out on our podcast first, that watch Draymond Green's health for the season. You questioned that and said it would be a factor in them being the championship. And his toe is screwed, bro. He was walking as ginger and as high-footed and high-kneed as you can think on that toe. I mean, defensively, he's just a dog. So he's able to lock up, but he couldn't move the same on that foot. And the entire game, Kevin Durant goes back into doing with no Steph Curry what Kevin Durant does. He scores the basketball, and when he has the ball, bro, we've seen it OKC. We've seen it in the playoffs last year against Houston, the first couple games when they lost. The other four guys are standing. There's no ball movement. It's the KD show. KD, do whatever the heck you want to do. And at the end, Draymond gets the rebound, even though he was having a stinky game. It was just a regular average. He defended. It was a Drake, but it was just like, you're just here to be here. And keep in mind, he gutted it up just to play that game, because Draymond shouldn't have been on the floor, but he knows the Clippers are rolling. They felt like that was a game he was going to be needed to win. And when he pushes the ball, you know Warriors basketball, Rick, and I want you to touch on this. Everybody runs wide. If it's damn Clay, if it's Steph Curry, if it's Iguodala, and he's going to play a pitch-and-go game. He's going to throw it, run into a pick-and-roll. He's going to make something happen. KD goes clapping for the ball, bro. Gosh darn it, that's not Warriors basketball.
Yep. You're exactly right. In the backcourt, give me the ball, let me go. And if you recall, the first time they got into it, I can't remember if it was last year or the first year, but it was end-of-game situation, and they set it up for KD, spread the floor, give the ball to KD at the top of the key, but KD settled for a three, and they didn't need a three. They were down by one. and he shot it early. And Draymond was like, that ain't the play, dude. That's not what we do. And they got into it.
Yep.
And this was basically, KD was looking to do the exact same thing in this situation. And you're exactly right. What Draymond did was how they play and what they look for at the end of the games. And Draymond is generally the guy with the ball making that play. What I think also heightened the emotions is what you said, which is Draymond is playing hurt. And as you well know, when you are playing hurt and you're struggling through that, your emotions are high already because you're gutting it out and you're just trying to keep your game together. So you keep your game together.
Appreciate me.
You're out there giving it for the team, and now you try to make a play at the end of the game. And by the way, I've been doing this not just this year, not just last year. I've been doing it since they allowed me to be a starter and David Lee pulled his hamstring. And now you're going to get mad at me because I didn't hand you the ball in the backcourt? I completely everybody looks at Draymond Green and says he screwed it up. I'm not so sure about that. If you look at the picture in its totality, I completely understand why Draymond reacted the way he did.
Yeah, man. And we fast forward into the locker room. Draymond has had enough. He's had enough of this. I'm moving on. I think KD made the statement, it's time for me to be selfish. I've had enough of this kissing your butt. KD, please stay. He let it all out, bro. Rick, he let it all out. And he said what everybody else was thinking and everybody else was feeling. It's just like, we're not going to let you ruin Warriors basketball because we've literally put together a good thing. You got here, and now whether you stay or whether you leave, you're going to ruin what we have. And we were what we were before you, and we were what we're going to be after you. Yeah. And something I've never seen ever in my 10 years in the NBA, watching the NBA as a fan, the organization stepped in front of not a physical altercation, but a verbal altercation between two players. And they essentially said, Draymond Green, we will trade you. We will move on from you because we're all in on Kevin Durant right now. We are all in. And essentially, potentially cost the Warriors a championship because this ain't going nowhere. And instead of just allowing the players to figure it out, because Rick, like, I grew up hooping in the hood. And in inner city basketball as a youth, like, you fought with your boy and then you guys loved each other afterwards. You guys went and hung out afterwards. And that's just kind of like what you do. And you said those harsh messages and it was like, bro, I love you at the end of the day. Or like, like you work hard, I work hard. Mm-hmm. Let's get along. The organization didn't allow that. And now it's bigger, 10 times bigger than it ever would have been.
Yeah. And they picked a side. And they picked the side of the guy who may not stay anyway.
Oh.
As opposed to the guy who's been there through it all. And I believe the guy who is their emotional anchor. Like for everything, I said this from the very beginning. I can live without either KD or Steph. I can't live without Draymond Green. And I think you disagree with me. You think, if I'm not mistaken, we've had this conversation before. You believe that what Draymond does can be replaced by somebody. And I think maybe from a physical standpoint, you're right, but not from an emotional standpoint. These are generally quiet, nice guys. There isn't anybody who's breathing fire, who's going to do what he's done with Kerr, with KD. There's people out there who may say, I don't want that. That's disruptive or whatever. Yeah, it can be disruptive, and sometimes Draymond goes too far. I guarantee you this. When he comes back, this is not going to be a problem as far as how he plays. The dude has a conscience when it comes to playing, and when he screws up, whether it was, let's say that the KD thing didn't happen, and he just sprawled and he screwed up that play. I guarantee you, Draymond Green, one, he would have worn it in the post-game press conference, and two, he would have found a way to make up for it, because I've seen him do that in every single situation. He acknowledges when he has a bad game, when he doesn't do his job, when he tries to do too much, whatever it might be, and he tries to correct it. The real struggle he's going to have, as I see it this year, is that physically, I don't know if he's, like, I think some of his issues are things that you just can't correct because he's up against it from a physical standpoint.
our big toes don't go away, at least not during a basketball season, because we play, 4 games in 5 nights. You never get rest. Plantar fasciitis, you never get rest. There's a tendonitis. Those are injuries that literally can linger, especially because you're on your feet day after day after day after day, game after game after game after game. It doesn't change. It doesn't go away. Steph Curry, in my mind, I know Steph is the guy who doesn't get replaced. Draymond, I hear you. That's hard to replace the guy who's going to instill confidence in you, and Kevin instilled confidence in you and asked you to be Kevin Durant in situations when needed. But he's just a damn winner. Like, there's no way. Like Draymond is a winner, and I think that it's a stupid choice to go public with the suspension. Call those 2 dudes in the office, iron it out. Yeah. Do whatever you need to do. Owner fly in, GM fly in. Whatever you need to do. But I don't think anything that he said was too far. And if you're worried about upsetting Kevin Durant, the dude's going to leave anyways, bro. You might as well have a keep it real conversation. What do we need to do?
Yeah, look, the Bulls faced this one time when they knew that the band wasn't going to stay together. That whatever happened, they were going to be done. And they used it as a rallying cry. That was the last dance. And I feel as if the Warriors could use this to their advantage, but it's recognizing, what is going to happen rather than trying to deny what's going to happen. And I'm not to the point where I'm convinced KD is gone, but he clearly is leaving his options open. He wants to see where things are at the end of the year and make a decision based on that. I don't think he's going to LA though. From a conversation that he and I had just recently, I don't know that he's going there to join LeBron.
What did he say?
I just asked him in general about the yin and yang of playing with LeBron. And he said, I understand why guys wouldn't want to do it because, and what his big issue was the LeBron fanboys. He's like, the media fawns over LeBron. He's like, it's just basketball, dude. Like there's too much, he can do no wrong, and just let us play. We just want to play. But he goes, yeah, it's the atmosphere. He goes, it's not LeBron's fault. He goes, but the atmosphere around him, he called it a toxic atmosphere. So I have a hard time. And we were talking about guys like Kawhi and Jimmy Butler and some of the guys that supposedly want to go someplace else, kind of do their own thing where the Lakers aren't on the list. But based on his answer, it's hard for me to imagine him saying, yeah, but I would go there.
So Katie seems to agree with that. With the Butler, with the Kawhi road.
Yeah.
Wow.
He understands why those guys wouldn't necessarily want to go there. And the other thing that I heard is that his business manager, his boy, Rich Kleiman's dream has always been to run or be part of the New York Knicks organization. That's always been his dream. Scott Perry right now is the GM of the New York Knicks. Scott Perry knows KD as well as anybody in the league because they were in Oklahoma City together.
Wow.
For a long stretch. If it meant making Rich Kleiman part of the front office, and they're not going to make him the team president, they're not going to make him GM. But if it meant bringing him into the organization and finding a place for him,
heck yeah,
and it would bring KD along,
heck yeah,
I would not be surprised if that happened. You
see the Lakers gave KCP $20 million and brought him right back.
Exactly right.
LeBron James, who you want? We'd take Tristan Thompson too.
I think Rich Paul had a cubicle in the Lakers front office for most of the last season.
Straight up.
No doubt. So before we say goodbye and prepare for our next podcast, I do have to ask you, with all of this, do you still look at the Warriors as the favorite? Do you see this potentially getting in the way of them winning another championship?
It's all the way in the way, but the West is so open, man. Houston was what 2 nights ago 12th in the NBA, and obviously they're going to climb with Harden back. He alone showed you why he was the MVP caliber type of player. LA is something to watch out for, man. It's just the wild card, and then the East hasn't been what it's lived up to. I think just the NBA as a whole, the talent level has gotten better and the skill has caught up. And guys are kind of like, okay, kind of this is how you play our version of small ball. So I still, at the end of the day, hats off goes to the Warriors. Rick, in that game, Klay Thompson just turned it on and he showed something special, but he had to go create his own shot. He was just kind of like, enough of this KD crap. Let me create my own shot. And they literally stormed back. But the last 6 or 7 minutes, the Warriors started defending like they look like they just pumped up on steroids, bro. The last 6, 7, or 8 minutes they start switching every screen, bodying up. Like it wasn't until KD fouled out that there was actually an opening against the Clippers. But it was like, yo, damn, like 6-7, 6-6, 6-7, 6-7. Iguodala, Looney, Draymond, KD, they were switching screens, and it was like the Clippers like literally couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, like the difficulty just went on expert. Like, what?
Yeah, it is. They are capable of it. You're not going to see much of it, and I wonder if once you get to the playoffs where they've got to play that for 48 minutes at times, are they going to be out of practice, or are they going to be mentally and physically capable of sustaining it for the stretches that they need be? But there's no doubt that they can play it at a level that nobody else can because they've done it. They know how to do it. So we will see exactly where this goes, but that is it for this episode. Again, don't forget to follow Ryan at the Ryan Hollins on Twitter and simply at Ryan Hollins on Instagram. You can find me at RICBUCHER on Twitter. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Bucher Friends. Please drop us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Screenshot the review and tweet it to us at Bucher Friends, and you'll be entered for a chance to win some swag. All right. In tomorrow's episode, we're going to give you the best picks. I have to say that my man Ryan Hollins, we're keeping track. You had a nice week last week. I did not. We'll see where we go from here. In the meantime, everybody enjoy, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Peace.